I am the disabled guy with the disabled life. This podcast is going to be about disabled issues and other things that interest me and others from the disabled community. I did this so that people understand what we go through in life and what we do, because a lot of what we do, it is interesting. I'm also going to talk a little bit about ADA and things of that nature. It's something that's very important to me and something that I learned a lot about when I did an episode. I'm going to talk more about it. Okay. This podcast it's going to come out at 10 p.m. Saturday and Wednesday. So that's when that's when I think most people listen. Most people listen at night or have the episodes there for during for the daytime. So
Stop this.
Hi, Christian. Welcome back.
Hi.
Let me say this: you are my first repeat guest.
Well, thank you for having me back.
Yeah. Oh, remember just to let you know, remember the girl from South Africa?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was recording with today.
Oh, wonderful.
This morning. So tell me a little bit about yourself, so if people haven't listened to the previous one, they can have a little bit background on your on what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Kristen. I am born with a rare form of muscular dystrophy, and it affects my breathing, my strength, my endurance, and my balance. So I use a wheelchair to get around. I also am on a ventilator full time, so if my heart is choppy, that's fine. I am a wheelchair accessible travel blogger. I share tips and information people on how they can travel in a wheelchair, and I also organize small group tours to be able to visit various destinations.
Okay, the reason I brought you back on is I was very interested in the Peru trip because I've been to South America.
Yeah, so I just did my first wheelchair accessible small group tour. So I was just in Peru with some of my readers, and we spent 10 days there, and we traveled all around the country and even visited places like Machu Picchu.
Let me ask you this question, just then we'll continue. How did you visit Machu Picchu? Because there's a bunch of stairs there, and how did you do?
Yes, so we used specialized wheelchairs. It was the wheelchair that had one wheel, and then there's a person in front, there's bars that come off the wheelchair, and there's a person in front and a person behind you that helps steer the wheelchair, and this helps you go over more uneven terrain, and it's easier for them to carry you up and down stairs because the wheel balances you, and then they kind of lift you up and down the stairs to be able to see Machu Picchu.
Let me ask you this question: How did you like the travel on? Like in the certain countries, they're not familiar with accessibility, even though they have the travel chairs. Those not travel chairs, aisle chairs. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they did okay in Peru. They had the aisle wheelchairs for us to get on and off the planes, and they were really good. There was a language barrier. Most people only spoke Spanish. There was not a lot of English spoken, so it really tested my memory from learning Spanish from high school. But we were able to manage. Our tour guide was great. He acted as an interpreter as well.
Did he? When you say that, did you have the same people help you all the time, or no? I believe you don't.
So go on. I use a special accessible travel company based in Peru, and for for that trip, we had the same people. We had the same guide throughout the whole trip, and then he had helpers that he hired so that to help with a specialized wheelchair and to make sure we were safe and that our needs were met. So we really got to know them and became friends by the end of the trip.
That's very nice. Let me ask you this. When it comes to food, how do you like the food?
The food was good. So the food in Peru is different from America, and the stuff that they don't use preservatives. It's very fresh. They don't use a lot of sugar or additives or anything like that. So we had food. Back in America, they have a lot of potatoes. That's one of the crops they're known for. They have over 5,000 types of potatoes that they grow in Peru. They're known for their corn, quinoa, legumes. The most exotic dish was guinea pig. That's a very common dish in Peru that obviously in America, some people have guinea pigs as pets. But in Peru, it is something that they eat. I did try it while I was there. It wasn't bad. They basically roast it, so it's kind of like roasted chicken. It's just to me like roasted dark meat chicken.
Yeah. So let me ask you, how do you handle? Cause I don't know if you're on a different diet than a regular person, but how do you handle travel and dietary things with your group?
Yeah. So I most food that anyone else can. I do have some digestive issues, so I have to be careful of fruits and vegetables. Peru really wasn't a big deal for me. You cannot drink the water. It'll make you very sick if you drink the water in Peru. So we didn't. We only drank bottled water. We were very careful with fruits that would have been washed in water to make sure that it was safe and we get sick that way. But in general, travel, I just know the foods that I need to avoid and I just don't eat them.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Now, how do you know, or how do you take responsibility when you travel like that for other people's food issues? Or are you responsible for them?
So I think that a lot of, like when I organize small group tours, a lot of the meals are not included so that people have their own choice and can make those decisions based on their needs. I ask before the tour if anyone has any special needs. One of people on the tour was a vegan, so she didn't eat any meat or dairy products or anything like that. But she found the food choices to be good. She didn't have any problems finding anything that she could eat on the trip. I know that one of the trips I'm planning for next year, there's a gentleman coming that actually uses a tube to feed himself. So he brings all of his supplies. So I just let people know ahead of time kind of what to expect and let me know and see if we can help get around it.
Tell me more about the different places you went.
So in Peru, we started off in Lima. We did a city tour of Lima, and we did like a driving tour, and then there's a pedestrian area. We were there. We went to a monastery. We went to a private museum that had ancient artifacts like the Inca gold and silver and some of the pottery. We then flew to Cusco, and Cusco is higher in the mountains, and we saw some other Incan sites like the ruins. We saw Machu Picchu, and we did a city tour there, and then we drove to Puno, and in Puno we went to Lake Titicaca, which is the highest navigational elevation lake in the world. So we did a boat tour to the floating islands of Euros. There's a whole community of people that live on floating islands made of reeds. To another island called Hewitt and visited a local.
Okay, question. How was the vehicle and the motorized travel in Peru? How was that?
So in Lima, there is a wheelchair accessible taxi that has a lift on it, and so we use that to get to and from the airport. And then the company has a van that they've adapted, so there's spots for wheelchairs, but they use a portable ramp to get the wheelchairs in the van. So the ramp can be steep at times, but they had helpers to make sure that our chairs didn't tip and that we were safe. So we felt safe the entire time, and then we used the company's adaptive van throughout because none of the public transportation that I saw was wheelchair accessible.
No, that's a difficulty going to South America.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's amazing that you can do that, and you have people that will join you.
Yeah, so one of the goals when I started organizing small group tours was to make accessible travel more affordable. So as you know, accessible travel costs more than traditional travel, so that when you organize a group, that cost is split amongst more people, so it makes them more affordable. And then some of my readers just feel anxious about traveling and with disability, they're fairly new to it. So I try to help answer their questions and make that easier for them with the group tours as well.
Let me say this is an interesting thing. I never have experienced accessible travel. I've always traveled with my family, and I do. There's certain things I won't do, like I won't go up big, like stairs and things like that. But most of it I do. Something that I'm gonna ask you: did you go into the countryside?
So Puno is in the countryside. It's a very small town. The town itself was not accessible. There were not a lot of curb cuts. There was no public transportation. Even the boat tour that we did on the lake, there were stairs to get to the boat. There was a gap to get, that you had to cross to get to the boat. The only way we could do it was because we used that company that I used, and they lifted us in our wheelchairs up the stairs and then over the gap to get onto the boat, and then we used the adaptive wheelchairs for the islands. The floating islands are made of reeds, so it's very soft, it's not very firm, and then the other island had a lot of steeping that helped us navigate through all of that.
Something interesting that I just noticed. I'm not hearing your deep breaths. How are you handling that right now?
I'm breathing, I'm good.
Yeah, but I'm not hearing that whooshing sound.
Oh, probably because I'm talking.
Yeah, I'm not hearing that. Yeah, because so how was the power issue in Peru? Because I know you're a ventilator user. How was the power?
The power was good. It was reliable. They do use a different voltage system than we do in the U.S. So if you're, like my ventilator can handle both voltages. It can go from 110 to 240. I think they use 220, 230 in Peru. So that wasn't a problem. And their outlets, they use American-style outlets or the two-prong round outlets like they do in Europe. So there was a mixture of different types of outlets, but most places we were had the American-style outlets.
Let me ask you this: how was the hotel for you?
So the hotel, Peru does not have accessibility laws like we do in the U.S. In the U.S. we have the ADA laws that kind of guide how the hotels should define accessible rooms. And Peru does not have that. The hotel rooms were not bad. There was space to move around. In my wheelchair, the bathrooms have grab bars in them. They have golden showers, but the grab bars were not always a place that made comfortable. like sometimes they were behind the toilet or they were on a wall that wasn't like right next to the toilet. Toilets were very low, so it really depends on everyone's individual needs. People prefer the toilet, some people prefer harder one. Shower chairs were not always attached to the walls. Some of them were vertical. One hotel didn't have shower chairs at all. They gave me a wooden chair to use, and it worked, but it may not work for everyone. So I took lots of pictures of the hotel and put them on my website so that people could see whether that would fit your needs or not.
Let me make a comment to you that I forgot to make a comment when you first came on my podcast. First time. I don't know if I told you that I went to Costa Rica once, and I was the first disabled person to use the disabled room.
Oh yeah.
Did I tell you that?
You did.
Oh, but that was an interesting experience. So it's funny because I never used accessible bathrooms because we stayed in houses. Now that I fixed my personal shower in my home, I said, how the heck did I do it? It's people take it for granted when you travel. Let me ask you this question while I'm here. How do you manage with, like, when traveling in the U.S.? Because sometimes bathrooms are a mess.
So I always travel with someone that helps me. I can't travel on my own because I don't have enough strength to, lift things and do the things I need because of my disability. So I always travel with someone and they always seem to manage. I do have limited mobility, which helps as well. I can walk a couple of steps as long as I'm holding onto things because my balance is poor, but I can usually manage in most situations.
Yeah. No, because so as I say, we have to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I found. I'm going to talk to you about this one. When I was a child, is that an animal? Because if you need to shoot the animal, it's fine. So, okay, no, it's not. So, when I went in the city, right, when I was a child, I couldn't find anything to do. But when I was an adult, the things reversed. When I went to the country, I didn't have nothing to do. Because I used to ride horses, etc. Did you get the opportunity? Did anyone get the opportunity to ride like horses or things like that in Peru?
No, we didn't do anything like that. I know the company does do tours of the Amazon, so if you wanted more wildlife experiences, they can help offer that. But there was no horseback riding opportunities.
I was asking because I personally did ride when I was a kid. But when I did ride, I farm rode, if you know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't ride in a ring. I free rode on the farm, and I actually rode on streets too. So yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, so how did you like? Let me give you an example of food. How did you like ceviche?
So I don't eat seafood, so I didn't have any ceviche. But someone else in my group tried it and they thought it was excellent. Lima is known for their seafood, so they make really good ceviche from what I hear.
Let me ask you, do you not eat it for dietary reasons or you just don't like it?
I just don't like it.
Yeah, no. I like that, and it's interesting. I would love, well, man, are you planning on going to Costa Rica anytime soon with the group?
I don't have anything on the schedule on the books yet, but it's on my bucket list.
That is a place that is accessible now. I can talk to you about it offline if you want, because it is accessible. The hotels are required to be ADA type accessible. Let me say it that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean by ADA type?
Yep.
Where they don't have an ADA rule, but it's similar. That's why I was mentioning to you offline when we were just talking that you could do that. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I've not okay. The only place I've traveled out of the U.S. Is Costa Rica. I I've traveled around the U.S. because my sister is military retired, and I did a lot of road trips. I tell you, did I tell you my experience with airplanes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a nightmare. Costa Rica, that can be a nightmare.
So I hope that continues. So yeah, I think I've already had requests from people that I've traveled with through that would like to go to the Galapagos Islands. So I think that's going to be coming up. Nothing's scheduled yet, but I know there's interest. I'm I already have
I'm gonna make an offer to you. Anytime that you want to talk about a special trip, reach out.
okay.
Because you know what this does. This is a why I do this is because it shows perspective from other people. I don't travel, so I don't travel as much, so I can't talk about that. But you guys can travel. As,
Can be challenging, like you mentioned, because if they don't have accessibility laws in every country. Some do, not all of them.
yeah.
What's not present, or like you said, the hotel rooms can be different. What would you do?
Hold on, say that again, because I don't hear it.
What was it?
I didn't hear what you just said.
Oh, I said South America can thing, but it's definitely doable. Like you mentioned, that there's not always accessibility laws. The hotel can be different than it used to, but it's still a great place to visit.
Yeah. Like I was telling you, I don't know if I told you this story. To say it, it's when I was in Costa Rica. We went to a bar, right? A hotel bar. And the only accessible place that I could sit was near the kitchen. Yeah, that was a challenge.
Oh, starting. You're from U.S. Europe has a lot of great accessible options.
Yeah. Again, the same thing happened.
And you're from the U.S., I'd recommend starting off with Europe. Europe is more
Yeah. Because I heard that that the UK and all those places have a lot of accessible.
Yeah, UK is pretty good. London is.
So how do you feel? How do you like traveling into South America now? Sometimes I hear you, sometimes I don't. So I have another question, see if I can get you in here. So how do you like? What's the difference between traveling in the United States and car traveling as opposed to airplane travel? Which one do you prefer?
I like both. I don't have
So, how often How often do you travel?
So the 3 trips a year, and I usually do 1 domestic trip a year.
I'm just curious to know this answer. The person that you travel with, is that a certified aide or is it just a friend?
It's just a friend.
Yeah, because that would get expensive if you have to travel with certified aid.
No, No, I'm lucky I have friends that um,
So, so let me ask you this: how much would it? I don't have one either. But how much would it cost to bring a certified aid with if you needed one?
Please, no, typically you have to pay them a salary.
So you would have to salary them?
The salary, and then you pay for the trip as well.
Oh no, that can be expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want to pay them if they're work. You don't want to pay them to pay if they're working. Yeah. So how? So what? So I got a question for you. You don't have a service animal, I remember.
No, I don't.
Did anybody on the trip have a service animal?
No.
That can be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know.
Well, there's just a lot of things. Public service animals, because every country has their own rules about
Yes.
what kind of documentation that.
Just so you know, Costa Rica is very service animal friendly. Because they do have an ADA version, you know what I mean? So how do you feel? So let me ask you this question. How long have you been doing this travel thing?
So I traveled. Here we traveled to the U.S. with my family, and then I took my first international trip in 2005
So how did your family, what did your family think when you first started your travel trips?
I'm supportive. My mom.
Was she afraid?
Yeah, a little bit, but she supports me.
But did you take just to follow up? Did you take her on your first trip with your group? No.
Yeah.
Oh, she must have been scared when you left, right?
She usually travels to the U.S. I'll travel with my friends, and she's riding with me. But
I still have the links, right? I'm gonna put those links back down again. Yeah. So so how are you? So what have you been? What are your next plans? Say that again because I don't hear it.
in June, I'm going to Ireland and.
Are you backing away from a microphone or something? I don't know. No, sometimes it's hard to hear. So you said you're going to Ireland?
Ireland and Norway in June.
How do you like the cold weather?
I don't do well in cold weather. My muscles freeze up, but it doesn't stop me from going to places that are cooler.
So do you travel in the summer months?
I usually travel in fall.
Yeah, because I know I for one live with some pain, right? So I know what you mean. So how are you? So what I'm gonna say is, it's something that I've never. I guess travel to me has been difficult, but it's also, I'm gonna say, my parents are getting older and I don't want to. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I travel. I'm gonna tell you this funny story and then I'll let you go. I had a friend of mine that I traveled with for the first time in state, and the guy was like, "Are you sure you want to take me with you?" It's like, yeah, but it's a little nerve-wracking because you got to depend on a person for 3 or 4 day or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me. Okay. So what I was saying. So, where did you meet the friend that you travel with? I'm gonna say to ask her that one.
I met her through a friend of the work with. So I used to work as a mental health counselor in a hospital, so I know a lot of nurses that I'm friends with. And then one of my friends also knew this other person, and they said, "Hey, she likes to travel. You like to travel. I think you would, be good together." And so we met. We hit it off, and we've been traveling together.
No, that's interesting. So the one you travel with is a nurse.
One of them is, one of them is not. I have two different people that I travel with.
No, but that's good because she can help you with your care if needed.
Most of my care I do myself, but yeah, it's always nice to have someone that knows medical stuff.
Yeah, because something can happen to you or to somebody on their trip. How often does that happen?
It has not happened at all.
How do they manage with the licensure in another country if you're a nurse from the United States, for example?
Well, she's not practicing me. She's working as a nurse. She's just my friend traveling with me, so she doesn't have to worry about licenses and stuff like that.
Yeah, but what about when it comes to helping other people if that's necessary? Is that a liability for her?
Well, right now,
Right. So, it's one of these things where I'm like, that's one of those things that I am lucky with, that I don't have that problem, right?
What?
I don't need nursing care. But I am fighting a battle right now because I'm waiting to get a shot that I need, and it's hard to get. Yeah, I know. So how do you manage in all these trips that you do? How do you manage your medical appointments and all that around them?
So I schedule all my medical stuff in advance. Medical stuff is pretty consistent. It's every 3 months, so I know when else I'll need to go, and I just schedule my trips in between that.
You schedule your trips in between that?
Yep.
That's interesting. That's very interesting that you have enough consistency. So let me ask you, what would happen? How would you deal with it if you got airplane diversion?
I always have backup equipment. I have my medical records on a thumb drive when I travel and everything like that. So if an emergency happens, I have all that. If I need to evacuate an airplane or something, I do have limited mobility. I do travel with someone, and then my last flight I went to Peru, one flight attendants actually came up to me and said, "Okay, if there's an emergency, how best can I help you?"
That's something I've never heard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because what I mean by diversion is not medical. What happens if you got to go into another country that you don't plan to? How do you deal with that?
Well, it would be like anyone else who hurt and stuff like that. And if it's a diversion, it's not like you're going to be leaving the airport. So visas would be a little tricky, but it's not expected. So the airline would help you get another flight to your destination and try to figure all that out.
Yeah, because the reason I ask this question is because a lot of disabled people will be scared of that.
Well, most airports have facilities for people with disabilities, so that's a good thing. If you're in a more like third world country, in like Africa or something, that may be more of an issue, but there should be facilities, and that the airline should really get to your destination.
Let me say this comment. The one time I went with my dad to Costa Rica, right? And they had an aisle chair on the plane. How did I know that? I used it to get off. Because they were taking too long, and they were going to turn around. You know what I mean when I say turn around?
Yep.
Yeah. So at this point, I believe I'm gonna end the podcast.
Okay. So if anyone wants to know more about my group tours, please check out the website
Say that again. Say that again. 'Cause it's,
Yeah, worldnewsblog.com is my website, and I'll put tourists and check it out.
okay. Let me open this. No, I'm sorry, the wrong one. Thank you for listening to my episodes. My episode will come out Monday and Wednesday. You can listen to me on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and many others, including iHeartRadio. The reason I've done this podcast is to give people a voice, because I think that the disabled community is missing a voice, but I am in a unique position of being able to afford minimal equipment to do this. I'm going to give you my email address. If you want to contact me, is ke4key@gmail.com. And I will also, you can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, at The Disabled Guy, and a few other places where I put my episodes out on Facebook too. With that, thank you for listening.